Good evening, everyone. My name is Hillary Wank. I'm the program coordinator for the JCC Chicago Arts and Ideas Department. On behalf of my colleagues, Eileen Ullman, Abby Ashkenazi, and Devorah Horowitz, thank you for joining us tonight for our kickoff to our 8 Nights, 8 Lights. We're delighted to have Anya Viner here to join us to show us how to make these amazing challahs. Anya, welcome.
All right. Thank you. Hi, thanks for joining. I'm here to show you how to make what I'm calling a halakhiah, and we will get down to all the fine details so you can make one that looks exactly the same. A little bit about me first. I'm from Los Angeles, and I grew up with a very food-oriented family. We had a big garden. We're always cooking. One of the first, I think the first thing I ever made was chocolate chip cookies, and I was excited to make them all by myself. And I was so excited when the timer went off and I got to open the oven, and what I saw instead of cookies was one huge cookie. And what I realized was I mistook the flour for powdered sugar because my mom had a bunch of containers with flour, powdered sugar, and sugar, and they weren't labeled like I now have. So that was how I got started. Glad I'm not, still cooking cookies like that. But then I moved to Chicago to go to college. I went to Northwestern. I played volleyball here. And after Northwestern, I started working in consulting, and then I was always passionate about cooking. So I went to the Cooking and Hospitality Institute of Chicago at night, absolutely loved it, and learned how to make everything and learned kind of the science behind it too. It was fascinating. After that, I decided not to get into the food world. I found another job that was doing marketing for a food company. So it kind of seemed to be the best of both worlds. So I didn't have to wake up at 2 a.m. And let's see, after that, I met my husband. Oh, I needed an MBA. So I did go get an MBA for what I was doing. I went to Kellogg, and then I kind of put everything aside when I met my husband and we had kids, stopped working for a while, but we moved to the suburbs. And I couldn't find challah in the suburbs that I was used to having in the city. And so I figured, why not start making it myself? So I went through a few recipes, came across one that was my favorite. That one had eggs, and this other one that we made for tonight, which I think is very forgiving and easy to work with, does not have eggs. So it's a water challah, and it's good for people that are vegans if you have people with food allergies.
Anya, sorry to interrupt you, but your video turned off.
Can you turn the video? Yeah, 1 second.
All right, perfect. We see.
Is that better? Yeah. Okay. Great. So I started making challah on my own when I moved to the suburbs 15 years ago, and my math-minded husband likes to say, since I've been making this every week, 1 to 2 a week for 15 years, I've made over 1,500 challahs. So it definitely gets easier the more you do it, and I encourage you to, because there's nothing better than having fresh baked bread. So let's see. After making this on my own, I've taught some challah bakes at my synagogue, North Suburban Synagogue, Bethel. And there were a couple hundred people that I had fun teaching there. And most recently, I was working at a kitchen in the beginning of this year and telling my boss there how, I love making challah, and I make different ones. There's s'morio challah and cinnamon roll and pesto swirl. And she said, Anya, why don't you sell these to your friends and, send out an email on Monday and say, this is the challah of the week. So she's full of a lot of good ideas, and I thank her for this idea. And this is what I started doing. So I've been doing this since June. And kind of to tie it back to where I grew up, I needed a name. And so I grew up on Tiger Tail Road. And so I started calling my little bakery Tiger Tail Bakery. And I've been making lots of different things, from challahs to cakes to cookies, even large letter challahs. I've made a few of these for friends' bat mitzvah kiddushes. And so that's my background. And now I think there's going to be some pictures that you'll see that I can explain kind of what they are. All right, this is a caramelized onion challah. This is a carrot cake with candied carrot curls on top. Okay, these are my pumpkin challahs. Well, they look like a pumpkin. And for Halloween, I made a Halloween challah, and we'll see the picture later. It actually has candy pouring out the middle. Oh, here we go. So that was a lot of fun to make. And this is a coffee cake that I was trying to make Halloweenish for my son's school. This is a triple layer piñata cake. So kind of like that Halloween with all the candy coming out the middle. It has M&Ms and sprinkles coming out of the middle. This is a pumpkin challah with pumpkin seeds on top. Rainbow challah. Round challahs for Rosh Hashanah. This is the pesto swirl. Just kind of how I wrap things. Those were coffee cake or honey cakes for Rosh Hashanah. And this is the cinnamon swirl challah with a cinnamon glaze on top. More round challahs. This is the pesto swirl challah. You can see the pesto peeking through on top. Chocolate chip cookies. This is the best recipe. This is our flourless chocolate cake. My mom made this growing up, always for Passover, and I've been making it for Passover and Thanksgiving ever since. Oh, and this is just what I did last week. It was a marzipan challah. Delicious. Oh, this is one of the first ones I did, a s'moreo challah. There's marshmallows and graham crackers and Oreos and chocolate inside. It's a popular one. This is my son making what we're going to do tonight. So he did it all on his own with the steps that I'll go over with you. Very proud. He did a great job. And that's it. So yeah, you can see some other pictures at tigertailbakery.com or the Instagram page. Okay, but now what I'd like to do is get started. And I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with when making a recipe, you always need to read it once or twice even before making the recipe. And I've definitely learned that the hard way when I wanted to get this bean and vegetable soup done for dinner. And I gave myself an hour and a half only to go and start looking at the recipe and realizing I had to soak my beans overnight. So I highly recommend always reading recipes first. And that's why I'm going to try to explain to you what we're going to do first before we do it at all. This way you kind of don't start cutting in places where you shouldn't. So I'm going to try to make this very simple. I'm going to draw a picture here and I'm going to try to really model it just after what we're doing. So we'll punch down the dough and then shape the piece that you're going to work with, kind of like the Hanukkah. And from there, you can use the bench scraper or a knife, and we'll cut a line at the bottom. So that'll be for the base. The middle here, we're going to want a little thicker. So we'll cut 2 lines here for the middle. And later we'll even cut that into 2 pieces, which you can twist like I did, or my son liked doing 3 pieces, so he was able to braid it. All right, so 3 cuts there. And then we want 4 arms, so then we need 3 cuts. And you just kind of cut 1, 2, 3. And don't worry if it's not even, it's fine. It's all pretty forgiving. So you're gonna cut 3 here. And that's gonna be all initially. After this, we're gonna start rolling out each piece. We'll roll out the bottom and we'll put it on our pan. And then we'll roll out the arms and we'll put that on the pan. And we're gonna have the arms touch each other so that we have it all kind of together. And then this piece in the middle that you could either braid or twist is gonna be on top of the arms touching each other so that it covers up kind of the ugly touching. And then after this, some of your pieces, when we roll them out, some are gonna be taller, some are gonna be shorter. Don't worry about this. We do wanna roll out the shamash a little longer, but don't worry about all these pieces being uneven, because what we're gonna do at the end, after we've shaped everything, we're gonna do a nice cut here, here, and then on top here. And all those little pieces we're gonna put on the side, and those are gonna be our flames. And so if you have a piece that's a little bigger and a piece that's smaller, you know, you'll cut this in half and we'll make all these little pieces of dough and then we'll roll them so that they get a little pointy on the sides. Okay, so I hope that's clear. So if you would get out your dough, and the best thing to do with dough is once it's risen, you want to give it a nice punch so it deflates, and add flour. So one trick with flour so that you don't have a big clump is to sprinkle it from high up. The higher you are, the easier it is to kind of disperse it. So we'll take out our dough, and this is just so forgiving, it doesn't stick. And you want to punch it down to get all of the air bubbles out. You can use a roller if you want, but I think this is fine. You want to get all the air bubbles out so that they're evenly distributed and you don't have big pockets here and there. So this is the recipe that I gave. It's a large size. It actually will make 2 of these, but I thought we can make 1, and if there's time, we can make some other fun shapes. So if you cut this in half, we'll save that one piece for later, and tip this here, that's kind of the shape that I had. So we can spread this out, make it a little bigger, and really press it down to get all those air bubbles out. Okay. All right, they feel out. So now we're gonna kind of do these cuts that we did right here. So the bottom, we'll cut that off. And whatever you do is fine. You will be able to shape it however you want. So you don't have to worry too much about this being perfect. Okay, you can kind of mark. You want to do 3 cuts here. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'll press down and cut it after I like the shape I've made. Okay, so you can, actually, I'm going to take out a knife. I think this may be a little easy. This may be a little easier to cut. And again, it's okay if it's sloppy because we're going to roll this out. All right, and I'm going to do what I did here. So I'm just going to cut this in 2 pieces, and we'll twist that. And I'm going to go back to the bench scraper. And there you go. Okay, not too pretty, right? But don't worry, we will make it look just like that. Okay, so we kind of have all of our pieces here. Remember, I said we're gonna wait to cut for the flames. And what we need to do, let me move this over. Gonna get the sheet pan with the Silpat mat. You can either use that or a piece of parchment paper. And I'll put this, let's see, right here, so we can see both. And what I like to do is just kind of roll. So like this looked really long and I think I want it a little fatter. So I'm just really gonna shape it. You can roll it. So if you roll and kind of push your fingers together, your hands together, you'll make it shorter. And if you roll out, you'll make it longer. So I'm gonna try to make it a little shorter. You can tuck the sides under, however you'd like. So then we'll put it at the bottom. And you really want to put it at the bottom of the pan because this does take a lot of space and you want to have room for your flames. So then move all these pieces over so I can roll out. And I like to add just a little bit of flour. That was probably too much, but a little flour so it's not sticky. It's actually easier to work with if it is sticky. So we'll have all of these arms. So this is where you can try to roll it to more of an even thickness. And if it's not even, that's okay. You can stretch it out. Just try to make it in the shape you want. All right. And when my son was making this, he was asking, do we need a space in between? And you can have a space. It's going to spread, it's going to rise. But what's nice about this is it's kind of better when it's all touching because then it's easier to, be one big haul and, less chance for it to fall apart. So I think you can have a little space, but you don't need too much. Okay. Oh, we're going to have these touch in the middle. All right. And I think these center pieces that I had were a little thick. So I'll cut some of that dough off and we can have that to use for the flames. And this one looks a little thick. Okay. Remember, I said that, we're going to have different sized pieces, which is okay. What you're really going for is that these are all kind of the same thickness. So like that one's a little thick. I can roll that out a little more. Okay. Then I have my two pieces for the middle. Let's add some more flour. We do want these longer because we want the shamash to be the highest. I think that makes it a kosher Hanukkah. Oh.
Anya, your video turned off again.
Yeah, I see. Okay, Victor will help me. Okay, back on. I don't know why that keeps happening. All right. So I rolled these out and I'm going to twist these. So, however, oh no, sorry. You know what? When somebody,
Sam.
When somebody calls me, then my phone kind of blacks out. So sorry about that. So, all right, so I've twisted this, and this is what we put down here. So it covers all of the pieces touching in the middle, and you kind of have to smush it down. Can you text them?
I am.
Yeah. Okay, so we have that pushed down. Try to center these. And there we go. Okay, now we're gonna do this other cut when you have it shaped the way you want. And let me move this. So we're gonna cut and give this a very clean look. And we'll do the same thing here. And then the shamash. Okay, so this one you have to keep pressing down when it's twisted. If it were braided, you wouldn't have to do that as much. Okay, so from here, remember, we're gonna have all these different pieces. Let me move this board over. So we want to have 9 flames. And so you could just cut them into 9 pieces that are similar sizes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, and then the extra you can just kind of put on the side, put some sugar on there, and it'll make a nice little snack. Okay, so what I like to do here is roll these into a ball as best you can. And then with my 2 fingers, kind of keep rolling. You can either pinch it to look like a flame, or else you can roll. And if you want to have a fat flame, that's fine. You can make it thinner. You can also stuff this, dig your finger in there, stuff it with a chocolate chip, whatever you'd like. So then once you have the flame, you put it underneath and you just kind of press down and you can shape it. So we'll do that with all of them. That one looks a little big, so I'll take some off. But this is your chance really to kind of shape it the way you want. Same when making a challah. Actually, when you make the challah and you braid it and let it rise before you put it in the oven, before you do the egg wash and put it in the oven, if it looks a little lopsided, that's your chance to maybe tuck in part that's lopsided to try to shape it and make it look the way you want. Okay, I think kind of pinching these works best.
Sound with my hands.
All right,
Cool.
that one looks a little bigger. And even though it's just tucked under, it will stick because you'll have the egg wash or water if you want to use, if you don't want egg, and it kind of seeps in and then they stay together. Actually, that seems to work better, rolling it in my hand. You get the little flame shape. And I think it's okay if you see some creases. It actually makes it look like a flame a little more. Okay. Then from here, you just kind of figure out like that was looking a little skinny. Maybe you want to make this longer. You can, make it a different shape, however you'd like. But this is your chance to really get it to how you want it. And you don't have to worry about these pieces not touching. They'll puff when it cooks and stick together. So I hope you guys are kind of at the same pace as me. From here, you want to egg wash and decorate. So I'm going to crack my egg.
So Anya, we had a question.
Yeah.
Someone wants to know what is the difference if you use egg wash or water?
Yeah, the egg wash is going to make it shinier. And so for the egg wash, sometimes you can use egg with water, a whole egg with water. You can use just the white. You can use the whole egg, or you can use only the yolk. And it's definitely shinier when you use the yolk, a little more golden and shiny. However, we're covering it up with all of the sugar and toppings. So it doesn't, I don't think you need the just pure yolk for the colored sugar. If you want to use it for the savory one, it'll give it a nice, more golden color. And then as far as using water, water or almond milk, maple syrup will definitely make it sweeter. I usually use maple syrup and almond milk or oat milk if I'm doing, just want to keep it all vegan. And if you don't have an egg, water will work too, especially with the sugar, because then that does all the caramelizing and it still makes it shiny and looks very similar. So I have my egg. I'm just using the pastry brush for mixing it. You don't really need a fork. I brush it all over. I try to get all the little spots. And if you need to add more after you've done some of the sugar, sometimes I notice, I missed a spot. You can easily go back over the sugar. Just at that point, you kind of just want to do a little dab because you'll start getting the sugar in the egg yolk and you don't want to mix the colors all over. Okay, so we have that egg washed. And now,
Anya?
yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you again. Someone asked if you could go a tiny bit slower.
Oh, sure. It's hard
you.
to know. Yes, no problem. All right. So we have these extra pieces of dough here. Like I said, you can, just put them here. You can smush them all up. And I was playing with some of the extra dough that I had. And if we have some time at the end, we can do that. But if you smush this all up and kind of get it consistent, we can make maybe a dreidel. I was just kind of playing around and, with the extra dough, kind of making some other things. So you can do that with this, or you can take this and braid it or twist it. Actually, one kind of cool design that I like, I think it's kind of like a babka. You roll it out. Let's see. The more you play with it, the tougher it gets because you work the gluten. And so you have to let it sit and relax. And I want it a little longer.
So Anya, we have another question.
Yeah.
You have a second proof after shaping, egg wash, and topping the challah.
Normally, yes, we do 2 proofs. However, and when you do 2 proofs, you don't proof the second time with the egg wash. I have seen recipes that call for that, and I don't know why, because the egg wash is going to weight it down. So I prefer to do the egg wash right before I put it in the oven. And so here we did the first proof, And because we're taking so much time in playing with it and rolling it out and letting the pieces sit, I feel that it's almost getting that second proof by the time we're done. So from here, after I decorate it, I put it in the oven, because it can be, 20, 30 minutes of doing this. And then that it's usually puffed up. You can kind of tell, you can feel that it's a little softer. So it started to already proof. And again, now's the time to kind of put it in the right shape. If you see some things are, not exactly how you like them, now's the time to fix it. All right, so I'll let you guys finish that. One thing that I was going to do here is I don't have my rolling pin here, but we can just do this all by hand. We are going to just kind of flatten this out. Let me get some flour. Gonna put a little sugar on here. To let it sit, to rest. Do a little egg wash. I like using this small 1/4 teaspoon, especially for here, because then you can get it a little more exact on where you want it. But this is just our little extra piece of dough that I thought we'd have fun with. And so I like to roll this up. This is a very tiny piece of dough to do this with. A lot of times I will do a whole loaf of challah, a whole piece of dough, and I will roll it out about this size. I will spread it all with tomato sauce and cheese, roll it up, and then you cut it in half. So you cut it in half and you see the different layers, and then from there you twist and you get kind of a little babka. So actually it looks like it could be a little candlestick, but
Christmas.
it's fun to eat. So, well, it's blue and white, a little Hanukkah-ish. All right, so let's see. This still feels nice and sticky. So from here, whatever sprinkles, you want to do. So what I did for the sugar one, this is sanding sugar, and I did gold and silver, and then I mixed gold and silver, trying to make it look like metal, and then I used the different colors here. For the savory one, what I did, I think everybody likes everything but the bagel seasoning, so that I did in the middle here, and then sesame seed, poppy seed, and this is sumac, which is a powdered berry, and it's delicious. I guess it's in, I don't know, different ethnic cooking. I'm not sure how I came across it, but I thought that worked for the candles. And really whatever you want. I was thinking for actually with savory ones, I have like minced onions, you can add that. Or if you wanted to do a sweet one, even just cinnamon and sugar on the whole thing, or, cinnamon and then maybe a sugar on one, and then cinnamon and sugar in the middle. So you can get creative, whatever you have. You can even do seeds or dried fruit. So maybe like the dried goji berries, and then you can really place them the way you'd like them. It can be decorative, and then pumpkin seeds too. So however you'd like. And a friend of mine thought maybe this would be hard or not as moist because it's thinner. However, you really just bake it for less time. So generally, if I were making a challah with this amount of dough, I bake it around 22, 23 minutes. But here I do it 19, 20 minutes or so because it's thinner.
Temperature.
Okay, Anya,
And
Anya.
What? Yeah.
Another question someone wants to know is the bottom piece on the top of the twisted center piece, or is the twisted center on top of the bottom piece? How did you
That's
put
a good question. I put it I guess I just kind of tucked the twisted piece underneath the bottom piece to hold it down. And actually it looks like mine are really just kind of touching. Yeah. The egg wash.
a few
The
more
egg
questions?
wash. What?
A few more questions.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
What temperature are you going to bake it at?
Okay.
And
So 3. Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, 350. I think it should be in the recipe that you got. 350, 19, 20 minutes for these.
And how do you know when it's done cooking?
Yeah, good question. So they say when to check if dough is done, you want to lift it up, hit the bottom, and hear if it sounds hollow. However, I feel, this almost sounds hollow. So it's kind of hard. I usually look, and if the bottom kind of looks brown around the edges and golden on top, then I generally think it's done. And I usually don't veer too much kind of from the time, unless I'm stuffing it with, caramelized onions or the s'moreo mix inside, then it takes a lot longer. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. All right, so now for decorating this, and I think I have seeds that came off of my other ones. So I like to use a small measuring spoon, the quarter measuring spoon, because I feel that is just easiest to kind of put the sprinkles where you want them. So I'll start with the gold, and I just tap. Like I said, it's pretty forgiving. If you see, a spot where it's cracked and you want more filling in there, just kind of add a little more egg wash and then add the more colors. This seems a little wet. So for the twisted pieces, I'm gonna vary them with silver and gold. All right. I guess I'm kind of making it the same way as my last one. I'm going to change this one up. I'm going to try to vary the arms here. I think there was a menorah we got as a gift that I can't think of the designer, but it had all different color arms. It was really pretty, modern and multicolored. Let's see. Do the same. All right. Sorry, I'm very quiet here. I'm just getting into what I'm doing. So you can draw this out before you go and try to come up with different patterns if you want, or just kind of wing it as you're decorating. It's a great activity for kids. let's see, I want purple. I love purple, blue, and green.
So Anya, someone asked about when was the first time that you made this challah shaped, a Hanukkah shaped.
Good question. So I was trying to think of an idea for the week of Hanukkah, you know, because I keep coming up with a special holiday each week. So I had thought of this, and then when we started talking, and I was telling you an idea I had, you said, "Oh, I'd love to see that," and I thought, "Oh, great! I've never made this before. It's just an idea." And so the next day, I went and started making these, and the two that you see here were my first two. I mean, I had, you know, thought about it, thought it through, and yeah, that was the first one. So not bad for a first attempt. And, you know, I made it with my son, Sam, and I wanted to see how, you know, any questions he would have or how he would do. And I mean, he was a rock star. You saw the picture. He jumped right in and made it. I think it's pretty forgiving. You know, you can mold it, and really anything goes. It's gonna taste good for sure. I used to work at for a brief period at a chocolate shop, and I was helping them dip caramel apples and then dip it in chocolate and decorate it. And I remember before I got started, the lady said, "Don't worry, it's going to taste good no matter what," which was very nice. They looked pretty too, though. Okay, so I'm trying to decide what colors I want here. I'm going to do pink. And then for the flame, I did them all one color, but I feel like sometimes flames have multicolor. So I'm going to try and see if I can do red and yellow on the flame. I'm not sure how this is going to work, but I'm going to start with a little yellow on the bottom. And the egg wash may start to get dry, and so you can just add a little more if that happens. Okay, so we'll see if this looks like a little more of an authentic flame. Maybe a little bit.
Okay, the internet connection's bad. So can you mute your mic?
Do some on the side. Okay. It's different. All right. So there we have it. I'd love to see what all of yours look like. So then from here, you put this in the oven, again, 19, 20 minutes. I'm not sure what time it is. Yeah, we probably don't have enough time to bake it here, but when we're done, you know, put it in the oven, and I think you'll like it. I had a couple more things I thought I can show you with some dough. I'm not sure if everybody's done, but it was the different dreidels I thought can be fun. Or if anybody has questions, you know, on other shapes, I'm happy to answer that or do that.
I do have another question.
Oh, great.
When you were attaching the flames to the arms, did you just mush them together? How did you connect them?
Yeah, yeah. I put the flame underneath the arm. So you can kind of see there. So I put the bottom part, so that part was underneath the arm, and it's sticky enough with the egg wash kind of, you know, seeping through that it'll stay. And you don't have,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
You don't have to worry about smushing it too much. It bakes together. As it rises, it bakes together and it sticks.
And then someone actually also asked if you could talk more about the dreidels and how you made them.
Oh, sure. Okay, yeah. All right. So I had some extra dough. I just made these today, my first attempt. So what you do, again, let's spread out some flour. And press this out so that we have no air. If you want, again, you can take a roller, but I'm using this, I mean, almost like a cookie dough. And you can use, if you wanted to, a cookie cutter and then cut it a little more exact. I just used my bench scraper, and you can even decorate it. I mean, I was just spreading sugar. It's a little sloppy, but you can use, you know, pipe icing and then have it a little more precise and put your letters. So I think I have the sugar underneath here. So what I did from here, you can cut off a little patch. I started by cutting a V. So you have the bottom, and then I cut sides. And again, it's pretty forgiving. You can just kind of shape it how you'd like it. And then I cut the top. And then from here, I cut a piece in a rectangle shape. And this is kind of like with the flame, how you put it underneath the arm. I just put it underneath and I smushed it, and that's enough. But then when you egg wash, the egg wash will seep in between these two pieces, and this weight, it weights down. And when you bake it, it'll all stick together. All right, so from there, actually, before I put the arm in here, what I did was from these points here, I cut, or I just kind of, it made an indent and an indent here to the point. And then from that point up to make it look like you have multiple sides there. You can push it all the way down, almost cut through. It was just kind of a guide for putting the color on. So let's see. I have another sheet. Okay. So let's put the dreidel here. We can egg wash the top. I'm going to egg wash this arm and then put this top on so that it sticks a little better. You can push it down. Okay, so a little pinch I think is good, and it'll stay. And then from there, you can pick seeds. Let's make this a savory. I know my husband's gonna want to eat a savory one tonight. So we have poppy seeds. Sesame seeds, and everything but the bagel. And I'll save that for the biggest spot. All right, everything but the bagel here. And I'll do some sumac on the top. So there you have it, a little dreidel. If you were working with maybe chocolate chips, you can have like chocolate chips kind of in the cracks, maybe mini chips, so you can hold the line. Trying to think what else we can put there. Let's see, we can just try to press this down a little more so it looks a little more divided. All right. Any questions on the dreidels? And these other scraps, you can, let's see, mush together. You can make a little braided challah. Actually, I'm going to take a new piece of dough. Actually, I'll show you how to do a 4 braid. There's a couple different ways, but I'll show you one that I like.
Yeah, I think the 4 braid always like is easier and comes out nicer looking than the 3 braid, right?
I think so too, yes. The trick with both, I think, to get them to look more even is to start in the middle. When you start in the middle and work one way, flip it around, work the other way, I think then it could be fatter in the middle and then taper off. Mine always seem to be more rectangle though. All right, I'll actually try to roll these longer so that there's more braiding to do. And after rolling them out, you want to let them rest. A lot of times if I'm doing a few challahs, I will roll out all 3, all 4, and then go back to the first one and then braid, because you see they kind of shrink down. And so you want to let it rest so it's at its true size. All right. Okay. And another trick, I like to have a little bit of flour when I'm braiding them. I feel like if you have a little bit, it will hold its shape. They don't stick together. If it's wet, once it's braided, it will start melding and look like kind of just one blob. So a little bit of flour I usually have on the side, and I dip it in there. This is, yeah, they're feeling a little dry, which is perfect. You don't
Anya,
need too
when
much.
you push down your dough before you cut out the pieces, about how large would you make your whole piece?
Oh, for the braid?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. So just how, like the shape of the cut that I want to do, or?
I believe she's asking like how big of a piece do you want to use? How
Yeah.
much dough do you want to use?
Okay, you know what? I'm just playing here. So if I were making, a regular challah, I would use half of this recipe. So we use one for the halakhiah, and then one, I would make a whole challah out of this. I'm just kind of playing. I had some extra, just trying to show you different things that you can do. So normally these would be, this long. All right, let me get these a little longer. Okay, so what I like to do, again, I start in the middle. I start with the middle 2 pieces. I cross them over, and then this one, it's not going to go over because then you have 2. So that goes under, and this outside goes over. So then you're back to the middle 2 pieces, and this one goes over, because if that one went over, it would be over 2 pieces. So cross it over. This one goes under, this outside goes over. And then you have your middle two pieces, cross them over. And then this outside goes under, this outside goes over. I'll take this apart and do it again. You flip it around and do the same thing. So I'm not going to pinch too tight because I'll do it again. And another great way to get tutorials and ideas for how to braid is YouTube, and you can just watch it over and over. Type in 4 braid, and there's different ways of doing 4 braids, 5 braids, 6 braids, 8 braids. Yeah, they're great. Okay, so I put this piece under, put this piece over, then you have your middle two, cross those. Under, over, middle two, cross. Under, over, and then you would pinch those, and that's your 4 braid. I think it's pretty. That's my favorite braid. So I'll take it apart. We can do that again, or you know what, for the 3 braid, even, I was saying that I think in order to get it most even, you want to start in the middle. So if you have your 3, start crossing in the middle. Pinch the ends, flip it around, and then go the other way. Yeah, and you can either pinch them and leave it like that. You can pinch them and tuck them. That's a little neater. And again, you know, if this were a large loaf of challah, you let this rise until almost doubled in size, 45 minutes or so, and then egg wash, sprinkle whatever seeds you want, and bake. I'll do the 4 braid one more time just to make sure that was clear. Okay, you have your pieces, and start in the middle with the middle two, cross one over the other. This outside one goes over, this outside goes under, and then you have your middle two again. So cross those. This outside will go under, this one over. You have your middle two. Cross them, under, over, and you can pinch. I'll pinch this. Flip it around, and then it's just kind of reverse. So this goes under, this goes over, cross the middle two, this goes under, this goes over, cross your middle two, under, over, cross your middle two. And this looks pretty symmetrical, but remember, you know, from here, you'll do another rise. And if you do the next rise, and then, you know, some of these, you know, it gets a little irregular shaped like that, what you'll do before doing the egg wash, that's your time to kind of tuck it. You know, if this piece looks too big there, tuck it under and give it the shape you want. You can smush it, make it short and squat, long and skinny. I like it somewhere in the middle. And then you would do your egg wash seeds and put it in the oven. So those are kind of my braiding tips. Do you have any questions?
I do have another question. Do you let it rise again before you put it in the oven?
Yes, I would let this rise again before egg washing it and then putting in the oven. Because tonight I'm really just playing, and because this has been sitting out, you know, when we started, it already did the first rise, and now it's kind of done the second. I wouldn't, you know, even though we're shaping it and you need to let it rise a little more, I would do that and then just, you know, I would make all my shapes, use the rest of this dough, and then put it in the oven. I think it'd be fine.
And another question, I know you showed in the slideshow earlier that you do some filled challahs.
Yeah.
Do you like fill each piece of the braid, or how do you fill them?
I do. Okay, so there's 2 different ways. So for like the s'morio, for example, I would have 3 pieces. You roll your dough out into 3 pieces. Okay, it doesn't have to be so perfect. So if I were doing like the s'moreo, I have my 3 pieces and then I push them down so they're flat. And then I would fill each one with broken up Oreos and graham crackers and marshmallows and chocolate chips. And so I have that all here, and then I pinch the dough around it. That's kind of the hard part, the pinching, and especially if there's kind of like a wet filling, like cinnamon sugar. Actually, for the cinnamon roll, I do it a little different, but for stuffing, you can stuff with Nutella, you can stuff with chocolate chips. I would not recommend peanut butter. It it dries. It's not the best consistency for some reason, but definitely chocolate chips and Nutella works well. So stuff in the middle, pinch, and then let it, then I let it rest, flipped over. So you're kind of securing that pinch side. So the same thing here, stuff, 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 pinch, and then let it rest like that. And then go ahead and braid. So that's one. And for the pesto swirl and the cinnamon roll, that one is a little different. I roll this out real large, and I would brush this with, you can either cut in 3 pieces. I would generally cut it in 3 pieces first. You brush with the butter, sprinkle with cinnamon sugar, and then you roll. And that's one. You roll your other one, and you roll the middle, and then you braid those. It's very messy, but it's fun. Yeah, especially with the pesto and the butter, it kind of oozes out. So you kind of, the more you do it, the better you get at it. You realize you have to leave a little room at the end, because when you start rolling from here, and you're going to squeeze all of the filling out, and then it's really a mess to pinch together and to keep all that filling inside. You're getting all my tricks and all my secrets. I hope you try this at home though. I'd love to see the pictures. Any other questions?
Anya, people are
Yeah.
sharing their pictures with me, and
Yeah.
they're beautiful. They're beautiful.
Oh,
Person
yay.
brings, like, each person kind of brings their essence to it,
Mhm.
and to me, that's what makes it so fun, and and such a personal thing to do for your family.
Right. And when kids do it, they're so proud of their masterpiece, and they're all masterpieces. Yeah, it's great. Oh, I can't wait to see some of them.
Yep, we'll get permission, and I'll send you some of them, because it's interesting how each person like kind of takes their own personal spin.
Right. I think my son, when he did his challah, he had blue and red diagonal. I thought it looked kind of Dr. Seussish, like the Dr. Seuss socks.
Right.
But I don't know, I just tend to keep kind of doing the same thing. But yeah, I love seeing all the creativity. So here's the babka kind of one. I know it's very small, but I'll have to post a picture of the pizza babka. I'll do that tonight. And it's really nice. It's it's dinner, and it's large, it's twisted, and you just cut it in pieces and serve it with the salad, and that's dinner.
It sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So Hillary is actually inviting everybody to share their pictures
Oh, great.
on the JCC Facebook page.
Oh,
And
nice.
so that'll be fun.
Very
That'll be
good.
very fun.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of.
People are asking where they should share their pictures to, and you're getting messages from people. Thank you, great demo, and how much fun people have had. And I know that I have friends on here who have never made a challah before, and you know, I think everybody's kind of amazed at how forgiving it could be.
It really is.
I think
Just with
people are
some trick.
afraid to make a mistake, and
Right.
what you're saying is it's okay. Like, have fun.
It's okay. You know what? It's going to taste better when you bake it fresh in your oven, hands down. So, in terms of the looks, I gave you some of the tricks. The more you do it, the better you get. Practice makes perfect. And it's really not so hard. At first, it may seem intimidating, but it takes maybe, 7 minutes, a couple minutes to proof the yeast, and then you mix it. And then you let it rest for an hour, hour and a half, punch it down, shape it, let it rise again, and then bake it. It's not so long. And if you want, you can make it at night, make the dough and put it in your refrigerator. It'll rise, it'll do a slow rise, or you can do it in the morning, go to work, put it in the refrigerator, and then come home and punch it down, shape it, and make it. You can even freeze it. You can make a lot of dough and freeze it in a bag, in 1.5 pound sections, or just the whole recipe that I gave you, and cut it in two and put it in a bag and freeze it. It takes maybe, 20-30 minutes to thaw out, and then you have dough. It's nice. I mean, it's definitely better than what you're going to buy.
Yes, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
how long can the dough stay in the refrigerator for your eggless? And then also, what about if you have dough with eggs in it? Do you know how long they can last?
Yeah. So when you put it in the refrigerator, it's going to rise slower. It still will keep rising. I'd say I wouldn't do it longer than a day in the refrigerator, because if it just rises too much, then it loses all of its all the yeast power, and it won't rise anymore. So I'd say just one day. Sometimes if I'm making dough and I made too much, I will put it in the refrigerator overnight, and then in the morning I will make bagels, and it's actually really easy, and they're so good. So I take the dough and I cut it in strips, and you boil some water. So cut the dough in strips. Again, you can roll them nice and smooth or not, just pinch it together. And you boil water, and set your oven for 400 degrees, really hot. So you put them in the boiling water on one side for 1 minute, flip it over on the other side for a minute. And this helps get it chewier. It helps kind of hold in the moisture, and it makes it chewier. And bake it for about, depends on the size that you have, but about 16 to 18 minutes in the oven at 400, and you have nice bagels. I've done it with the s'moreo dough that I've had that had chocolate chips and crushed up Oreos and graham crackers. The kids liked it.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
had no idea how to make a bagel.
Now you know.
Exciting.
Yeah. So normally, okay, so here's a little more information. Normally, what's great about a bagel is it's very chewy to the bite. I mean, that's how they should be. And so it's because it has more gluten. So gluten is protein in the flour, and that makes it more chewy. So actually, my little flour talk, there's a few different types of flour. So there's cake flour, which is made of more starch, less protein. Maybe it's about 6-7% protein. So that's lighter. And then there's pastry flour. It could be around 8-9% protein. And then then there's all-purpose flour, which really came about during Betty Crocker age, when instead of wanting cake flour and pastry flour and bread flour, they made all-purpose, so you just have that one and just use that. So that's maybe 9-10% protein. And then the bread flour has, like, I get like King Arthur flour. It has 12.7% protein. And that makes it chewier. And actually, when making bagels, you really want to add extra gluten powder, and that makes it even chewier. But I think this is sufficient. If you have extra dough, you know, it's a great way to make a fresh bagel at home. So that's what makes it chewier, as well as the boiling it in water just a minute each side.
Okay, and a minute each side, because somebody just asked about it. You know,
Yeah.
how long do you, and how long in the oven? For the bagel?
15 to 18 minutes. Yeah, at 400 degrees. I would just watch it, and depends if you like it a little browner or not. And so also, you boil it in water a minute each side. And then if you want seasoning, you can sprinkle the seasoning on. You don't need egg wash, so, because it's wet. And so you sprinkle the everything but the bagel or poppy or sesame seeds, and then put it on a sheet pan and put it in the oven.
Perfect,
Yeah.
perfect.
Trying to think, other ideas are for the leftover challah, is making challah French toast for the next day. Or you can cut the challah in cubes and add a little olive oil and salt and garlic powder and toast it and have croutons.
Sounds delicious.
Other ideas. Yeah.
You know, we have to be busy during this time. You know, it's
I know.
it's a time, you know, where it's good to learn something new, and honestly, in a time to keep busy. And
Mhm.
so, you know, this is all inspiring.
Good.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
You're welcome. So I hope everybody has these. If they last past tonight, hopefully you'll have it for Hanukkah tomorrow.
Absolutely.
And maybe you'll make it again over the weekend and have it for another Hanukkah night.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much to everybody for joining us this evening.
Thank you, guys. Thanks everybody for coming, and the JCC for hosting this. I'm very appreciative. I hope you liked it.
Don't forget to post your pictures on
Yeah,
Facebook at JCC Chicago.
and if you have any questions, feel free to go to my website, tigertailbakery.com, or email me at anya@tigertailbakery.com, and I'm happy to answer anything.
That's great. And do you have social media? Are you?
I'm not so good at it, but yes, I do have an Instagram page, Tiger Tail Bakery, and so that's it for now. I'm working on it. I'm older. I'm not used to all this, but I'm learning.
As we all are.
Yeah.
We all are. Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Anya.
All
Everybody
right, thank
have
you.
a wonderful evening. Chag Sameach. Happy Hanukkah to everybody. I hope your Hanukkahs will be filled with light and joy. Have a good
Thank you.
evening.
Thanks. Bye.